Maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe there's nothing wrong with love and war. But finance is a massive, unregulated, global monopoly now.
Hey, what's up, guys? LegalBro here. Today we're breaking down the hearing that happened last week. The new CEO of FTX talking about what is going on with Sam Bankman-Fried's company. Now, remember, if you're just tuning in with us, you got to take a look at these videos up here where I show the bankruptcy filing and Ray's testimony in his original testimony to the court about what he said was off about FTX.
Every one of those entities had some financial problem or another. They have some characteristics that are in common. This one is unusual, and it's unusual in the sense that literally, there's no record keeping whatsoever. It's in the absence of record keeping. Employees would communicate, invoicing and expenses on Slack, which is, essentially a way of communicating for chat rooms.
First things first, Ray has already identified that FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried did not have an accounting department. Why is that bad? All of their invoicing and everything that they're doing is being done over Slack, which eventually will likely get rid of any potential evidence. However, I have no doubt in my mind that we have enough smart individuals at the DOJ, SEC, and on Ray's team to try to track down all of this evidence. It is glaringly obvious that something fishy was going down there in the Bahamas.
Essentially a way of communicating for chat rooms. They use QuickBooks, a multi-billion-dollar company using QuickBooks.
Oh my God, this is like the PR nightmare of a lifetime. If you're on QuickBooks' team and you hear Ray testifying in front of Congress, these jokers use QuickBooks. They don't even have an accounting department. They're using QuickBooks. Billions and billions of dollars are using QuickBooks. Now, credit to QuickBooks, it does work quite well. It's great for individuals. The scale that Ray is talking about, probably not the best. They probably should have had one of the big four doing their books.
QuickBooks?
QuickBooks. Nothing against QuickBooks, very nice tool, just not for a multi-billion-dollar company. There's no independent board, right?
This is important. Independent board. You all may or may not already know this. So when you have a company, right, you have shareholders. Who do the shareholders elect? They elect board members. What do the board members do? They appoint executives, right? They hire all the execs. The board is supposed to be holding the executives accountable on behalf of the shareholders, right? If it operates correctly and everybody is independent, then what you get is you are protecting the people from any potential harm at the executive level. What Ray is now saying is that they didn't even have a board. Nobody. It's basically Sam, hey, here's what's good for you guys. Here's your medicine. But we've seen this one play out before, folks. Somebody else was handing out a juice to people that wasn't all that good for them, but he said, hey, drink your medicine.
We had one person really controlling this. No independent board. That's highly unusual in a size company. And it's made all more complex because we're not dealing with widgets or or something that's tangible. We're dealing with crypto, and the technological issues are made worse when you're dealing with an asset such as crypto. Enron was really a different company. The crimes that were committed there were highly orchestrated financial machinations by highly sophisticated people to keep transactions off balance sheets. This is really old-fashioned embezzlement. This is just taking money from customers and using it for your own purpose.
All right, think about what Ray just said. So Ray was also in charge of taking Enron through a similar thing that FTX is now going through, right? Ray has said that Enron was a sophisticated type scheme where they are keeping things off of balance sheets, right? We've talked about this before in other videos. They are underreporting liabilities, overstating assets. They're doing different things. They have an auditor that is part of Arthur Andersen that is supposed to be independent but has an office there. There's so many different things going on at Enron that are done by very highly sophisticated individuals. What's Ray compare this to? Just a good old-fashioned Ponzi scheme.
Not sophisticated at all. sophisticated perhaps in the way they were able to sort of hide it from people.
What time was Mr. Bankman-Fried arrested yesterday?
I believe it was in the early evening hours, after 4 o'clock.
About, I believe it was
7
around-
o'clock, perhaps.
It was in the evening, after that filing.
6, 7 o'clock, yes.
I would like to submit to the record the statement from the Attorney General of the Bahamas issued yesterday on the arrest of Mr. Samuel Bankman-Fried. And after submitting that to the record, I would like to note that in this statement, they stated at such time as a formal request for extradition is made, presumably by the Southern District of New York, but they do not state when that request for extradition was made. Do you believe that information is important for us to understand in order to piece together a timeline, Mr. Ray?
Yes, sir. I certainly don't have that full timeline, and that's something that we look forward to learning.
The circumstances that led to FTX's collapse, those circumstances still exist in the crypto space, and can other companies collapse in a similar set of circumstances?
Well, certainly we've ceased trading, so it won't happen at our company. Could it happen at other companies? I can't speak to them because I don't know how each of these companies are operated. Obviously, our company operated in a very distinct way that led to losses, but I think every company is different.
That's important. Why is that important? Because we have so many members of Congress that are out there saying, crypto bad, bad crypto, bad. Look, we're comparing Sam and his crypto company to everything else on the market. There are obviously legitimate players out there too. They don't all have to be bad. For anybody to try to generalize and say all crypto is bad is a bunch of nonsense. What Ray is getting at is he hasn't been able to pull back the curtain and figure out any of these other companies. So he's not going to sit here and generalize and say, okay, all crypto is bad or all crypto is good. He's just saying, look, what FTX did is unique to FTX, and I don't have any knowledge about the other companies, so I'm not going to comment on them.
Question I would like to ask all four of you, and please give as close to a yes or no answer as you can. The world is troubled by the extent of the fraud and misconduct at FTX. We all agree on that. Too many people have lost money they thought was safe. Some have suggested that what we see at FTX was unique, a one-off caused by one immoral fraudster rather than something more widespread and systemic. So starting with you, Professor Allen, does this kind of carelessness, misconduct, or worse exist at other crypto firms?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes, the unregulated crypto firms.
Ms. Schultz?
Most likely.
Ms. Schenken?
It's endemic.
So let me ask you directly.
That's not exactly what you want to hear if you are operating in the crypto space, or you are investing, or you are a consumer, or you are lending. What they are now saying is that this is a rampant issue. Now, I agree with Ray. Unless and until these companies have their day to figure out if they're legit or not, I don't think we can just generalize against an industry like the four of them just did at this hearing.
You were an investor in FTX, and I know you've spoken frequently with Sam Bankman-Fried over an extended period of time. Why do you believe FTX failed?
I have an opinion. I don't have the records. Here it is. After my accounts were stripped of all of their assets and all of the accounting and trade information, I couldn't get answers from any of the executives in the firm, so I simply called Sam Bankman-Fried and said, "Where is the money, Sam?" He said he had been refused access to the servers. He no longer knew. I said, okay, let's step back. This is a simple case in my mind of where did the money go? And I said, Sam, walk me back 24 months. Tell me the use of proceeds of the assets of your company. Where did you spend it? And then he told me about a transaction that occurred over the last 24 months, the repurchase of his shares from Binance, his competitor. I didn't know this at the time, but at some point, CZ or Binance, who runs Binance, purchased 20% ownership in Sam Bankman-Fried's firm for seed stock. And then, over time, and I asked him, what would compel you to spend $2 billion was the number he was giving me at that time. Later, in a subsequent conversation, about 24 hours later, he told me it could have been as much as $3 billion to buy back the shares from CZ. I asked him, what would compel you to do that? Why wouldn't you keep your assets on your balance sheet? And why would you offer this to just one shareholder? He said, because every time we went to get licensed in different jurisdictions, because you must understand the prize of crypto is to get regulated. For all the talk we say about Bitcoin and everything else, no institutions own this. I work for the sovereign wealth and pension plans. They don't touch this stuff because it's unregulated. Between these two, let's call them frenemies, because they obviously were potentially the two largest shareholders in the firm.
All right. Now that's a lot to unpack here, so stick with me. The first thing is, if you're going to call for Mr. Wonderful saying, "Where is my money?" I think I probably need to change my drawers. That is got to be one of the most horrifying calls ever. I think Kevin O'Leary lost around 8 or 10 million. I think he might have been paid up to 15 million as an advertiser. Who knows how much money he invested of his own money. But basically what he's saying to Sam is, what happened to the money? Let's go back 24 months. And what Sam is telling Mr. Wonderful is that CZ of Binance, remember, Binance is that company that ended up withdrawing that offer to help bail out Sam. CZ is the Sam of Binance. CZ and Binance take a 20% stake in FTX. What Kevin O'Leary is saying is, why didn't you offer that up to everybody else? Why didn't you offer that same offer? He ends up buying it back for even more money than what CZ paid for it.
They had a disagreement. They had a falling apart. Apparently, according to Sam Bankman-Fried, CZ would not comply with the regulators' request in these different geographies, these different jurisdictions, to provide the data that would clear them for a license. He withheld it, according to Sam Bankman-Fried. The only option the management and Sam Bankman-Fried had was to buy him out at an extraordinary valuation of close to $32 billion, less apparently a 15% discount. That stripped the balance sheet of assets. You ask me why it went bankrupt? Go to the last week. All of a sudden, in social media, CZ is asking for another $500 million. He wants to do a block trade of FTT, or the proprietary token of FTX. Wants it converted back to fiat. Why would you put that out there? You know it's going to push down the pressure. It's going to push down the value of that coin dramatically, and that's exactly what happened. Every trader knows that if you have a large block trade, you go negotiate a clearing price with other buyers, and you do the transaction. In my view, my personal opinion, these two behemoths that own the unregulated market together and grew these incredible businesses in terms of growth were at war with each other. And one put the other out of business intentionally. Now, maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe there's nothing wrong with love and war. But Binance is a massive, unregulated, global monopoly now.
All right, so what we can learn from that, SBF and CZ end up going to war together, and what does Kevin O'Leary say? That's why Sam went belly up, because CZ sent him there. Now, I don't disagree with Kevin O'Leary's statement that CZ is now the monopoly level of Carnegie or a Rockefeller. He's monopolized the market.
Mr. O'Leary, I know that you are a big supporter of crypto, even after you lost $10 million in FTX's collapse. But you are an experienced investor. So let me ask you, do you believe that the potential benefits of crypto are so promising that we should accept weaker anti-money laundering rules and weaker compliance from crypto firms than we require from banks, from brokers, and from Western Union?
No, I think we should apply the same regulatory structure that we apply to existing trading of stocks and bonds on exchanges tied to broker-dealers. That is not complicated. It's already been implemented in other countries. And so, and I take issue, Senator, with your concept that it makes it easier to do money laundering. Currencies have been used for drug trafficking since the 60s in the American dollar, when it was thrown out of a Piper aircraft in a duffel bag. The American dollar is also used by bad actors all the time.
Mr. O'Leary, I appreciate your point that everyone tries to engage in money laundering. That's what terrorists do. That's what drug dealers do. And that's what states like Iran and North Korea have done. The only point I'm trying to make is, should the same rules against money laundering apply to crypto in the way that they apply to banks, to stockbrokers, to credit card companies, to Western Union?
You
and
know-
I think your answer to that was yes. Is that right?
No.
Mr. O'Leary, you have 30 seconds. Keep your answer short. You're
It's
30.
not yes. I'm just saying if you know your client rules on both sides of the transaction and use a crypto such as USDC that is regulated, you solve this problem, Senator, overnight.
To everyone here, thank you. This obviously is something we have been working on for a period of time here and really appreciate the insight you all bring. I do want to follow up on my colleague, Senator Van Hollen's line of questioning with Professor Allen. I want to ask the rest of you. Clearly, she's supporting banning it. If we don't ban it, how do we regulate it? She put forth a proposal, which is isolate it from the banking system and then define it as a security. Does anybody disagree with that or have any other ideas about how it would be regulated?
All right, so you heard that. There were a couple of different things going on. Ban it entirely? Do we regulate it? Do we call it a security, right? Separate. It's separate from some of our other rules, but we'll call cryptocurrency.
Mr. O'Leary.
The concept of passing legislation that would ban banks from integrating cryptocurrencies and crypto technology, if that were to happen as an investor, I would short every American bank stock because it would make it the most uncompetitive financial services sector in the world. The innovation that is coming forward, once regulated, is going to be profound in terms of how it changes the cost, the efficiency, the auditability, the productivity of the banking sector. Just look at things as simple as ACH transfers, how archaic they are. Look at the Fed wire.
So let me just stop you there. I only have so much time. So you do not agree with isolating it from the banking system?
That's insanity.
Okay, Ms. Schultz?
No, I also don't agree with isolating it from the banking system. I do think that if I were queen for a day to regulate, I would ask Congress to make some clear lines here with respect to what is and is not a security. And I think a lot of crypto tokens do fall under the category of security.
Take a look at this video up here. I'm posting one. We're talking about NFTs in this other video, and NFTs are super important. We've got so many different people pulling the rug out from consumers. Consumers in good faith invest in these NFT companies, and the investment is made in the hope that someday that is going to reap a return, and then all of a sudden nothing happens with the project. The only person that loses is the consumer. We're going to talk about NFTs. Are they a security? We're going to take a look at one video in particular that says maybe it should be considered. I don't know. You tell me what you think.
I also would ask Congress to draw clear lines as to which market regulator handles secondary trading, giving the commodities segments to the CFTC and the securities segments to the SEC. That should put good guardrails in place in order to apply similar risk frameworks to similar risks.
Thank you. Mr. Jensen.
Well, there you have it, folks. Nobody knows what the heck's going on. The only person that does is Ray. And what does Ray say? Comment below if you want to see more FTX videos. We'll have the bankruptcy and the class action videos. We'll try to keep you updated on that. And let us know what else you want to see us do. Thanks, guys.